record. Starting over. Hi, how's everybody going? We're dropping into the space, all the things. Um, I've got some curiosities for you to percolate on that we could tug at some strings later. So I'm gonna like front load some questions today and then talk about the moon and maybe talk a little bit about astrology 2025, simply because I've been going down the rabbit hole pretty hardcore. So it's the new moon day. The new moon will be exact in like the afternoon, evening time, central time. So it'll be nighttime across the pond, December 30th. Um, I think you'll get it in just under midnight kind of vibes. And so we're in this last little pada, this last little um, count of time, section of time, moon phase also before the actual new moon. And this is a really tired, not necessarily tired, but it's a low energy, introspective. So the night before the moon, or the day before the moon, the new moon, it's as dark as it gets, right? And then the moon starts and begins illumination. And so don't be surprised if you're like, I just feel like crawling in the bed and totally there's no energy. Meaning, not that like, you know what? I'm gonna go out. Like young, outward, I'm gonna go be with friends. I'm gonna go do this thing. And then we have this contradiction of the holidays, right? Of the holidays are very young for a lot of people with the family and the festivities and the parties and this and that. Hey, don't get me wrong, I love parties. But then we might hit this moon phase right before the new moon where you're like, no, it's like hot bath and then a fuzzies in the bed and just tuning in. And that's really what's happening is this tuning in before the new moon. This is a beautiful new moon today. Yeah, barky dog. This beautiful new moon. It's like just a nice little expansive moment. Barky dog. Yeah, it's a nice little expansive moment. We're in Sagittarius in this nakshatra called Purvashada. And that's ruled by Jupiter. So Jupiter is going to give us that sense of expansion and hope. And that's what we look for at this time of year, actually. We're looking for the sort of light in the dark, a sense of hopefulness, um, the hopefulness that comes from celebration and warmth and family, um, Christian values, hope, like Christians who practice Christianity values, hope, love, compassion, charity, this kind of thing. Charity used to be a thing. You kind of still want charity to be a thing, to be honest with you. Just Purvashada. I'm just reminding you of exciting things. And charity is still alive and well and a very helpful remedy for all sorts of things. Today's a great day for charity, actually. Like today would be a great day to give donations or give things away or gift like this, pass it on, repurpose, this kind of vibe. So anyway, I've got like 8,000 strings going all at once. Okay, let me rewind for a second. So what are you being intuitively called towards at this new moon time? We've got a new moon. It's a pretty dark moon in the sense of we're in the middle of winter. We have passed the threshold of winter solstice, so we're gaining little seconds of light. But the crazy thing is that in just a few weeks, even another month, you'll recognize the returning of the light. That's very exciting. We're already on our way towards Candlemas, but February 2nd, the midpoint between winter solstice and spring equinox. So we're in the inward turning part of the year, the season of rest and renewal. That's really the key thing here. Our sun just passed through the alignment with the center of the Milky Way galaxy. Our sun is renewing. That means our inner suns, these inner luminaries within, are renewing. And this new moon is really our new moon of the new year. This. And so we could take a little snapshot, right? Of like, so what are the vibes of the new moon? Also, what are the planets doing here at the new moon? Um, we pay attention to the moon because moon is mind aspect. And we're seeing what's activating basically for the next month in terms of like what's juicy. So that's whatever house that moon rests in your natal or birth chart. That's what you would look at. So when astrologers make new and full moon updates, that's what they're basing that in. That, well, if you are a Taurus rising, then this moon is in your ninth house, the house of spirituality, long distance travel, father, guru, um, higher education. So those themes are alight like that. So when you read, say, Moondance Astrology's newsletter blog, which is a personal favorite, then that's how the astrologer is like, well, how do they know what's coming up for me? Because of the house that it's resting in, like that. So that's what's going to be really turned on in this moon cycle. Um, so one of my curiosities is like, so what are you doing with yourself? This is often a nebulous 2 weeks of work. There's more times off. There's family obligations. There's not family obligations. Depends on your life. But time gets really nebulous. Children lose sight of their bedtimes. Things get dysregulated, but it's kind of fun. You're like out more or shopping or not. Just want to leave space for all the not. But everybody else is. So that's also kind of weird and interesting. I'm kind of one of the nots. So you like watch everybody in their hubbub and their fluff fluff. And I'm often like a support person, like taking care of someone's dog or, like a host here. I'm still running my healing clinic, so people are like, oh, I'm so excited. You're, still working over the holidays like this. I take my time off later in really large chunks, you know? So, but like, what's the intuitive process coming up? Are you doing any kind of review? Are you going over things from 2024? Are you feeling that little tug towards 2025 planning or dreaming? Maybe you're even like trying to get into visioning. For me, that's like a springtime activity, but like right now it's like the dreaming behind the vision. Are you cleaning? Are you decluttering? Are you super cluttering? Like, are you going opposite? Or you're like, I'm gonna clutter everything so much. But what do you feel the season is calling to you, and how are you engaging it? How you engage it are the umpteen tools that are available to you. But the really powerful part is acknowledging that like there's something talking to you, your body, your ancestors. So for me, what I've been doing is so we're doing some moving and shuffling. We're doing a lot of giveaway, which feels amazing. Just not holding on to furniture and things that, you know, we don't need. We're not using it. There's really no prospect of using it. Well, then why are we hanging on to it? Can't somebody else be using it? Last time we did this, I was able to gift a lot of our furniture to an organization that outfits immigrant and refugee families that are coming and getting settled. They come into a big warehouse and they get to just point and be like, that sofa, that thing, that bed, that one. And I'm just like, that's awesome. So we were able to do a big giveaway. The power of giveaway is amazing. To be honest with you, clearing karmas, benefiting others, lightening your own karmic load, and also generating positive energy towards, maybe some of the slightly unlucky things in our astrological chart or some of the malefic influences. That's like the outlook. But we really need a whole talk on that to understand that concept deeply. But charity, y'all, charity for the win. You can't go wrong. Donating your time, donating your energy, donating your things, donating money. Yes, all of the above. So, and this is a really good moon for charity. It's an expansive, it's like that Jupiterian energy, that expansive giving, like big-hearted energy. Like this, give food, fill that community fridge, buy a couple extra things when you're shopping, and stock the food pantry. Like if you can, then why not? And it doesn't need to be with a sense of like, well, if you ever needed help in the future, then you've like built up some points. Like try to avoid that kind of thing. That reduces the expansive energy. Give and then give wholeheartedly with no sense of attachment. That's the vibe, like with celebration. So I've been doing that and doing some planning and scheduling and playing with the calendar. I picked this one up from my friend Uma Dinsmore Thule. She calls it calendar prayers, where you have so much that you need to schedule and you open up the calendar and you like pray over it. And then you allow the spaces to show themselves to you. Calendar prayers has worked, y'all. Yes, it has. And so I've got some pretty ambitious international travel next year with multiple time zones and changing times. It's like a minefield between February and March. It's like so many shifting time zones. I will be so lucky if I get this right. So I was praying over the calendar. And I've also been digesting lots of 2025 astrology for myself personally. Like, what's up? At least like the first 6 months. The back half, I can't get there. But like, how about up until like May or June? And particularly what seems like an excellently volatile period of the end of March to the end of May. I've been really tuning in to that one. So I want to share a couple high level things from 2025 astrology that's just floating around in my head. So when we want to look at the year, you have to draw a chart from some point in time. And it can't be just any point in time. It needs to be a significant point in time. So maybe top 3 or 4 choices. What about drawing the chart from New Year's Day? Well, what makes New Year's Day of the Roman calendar important? Actually, nothing. What makes it important is we assign its importance. But since the entire globe assigns importance to New Year's Day, you could draw a chart from New Year's Day. And that's a fascinating spiritual concept, period. That like, is the thing sacred or did enough people assign meaning to it that literally it generated importance? Whatever it is, could be an object or some conceptual count of time based on whatever the Romans had going on at some point. Like, okay, what about Earth significance? Right. Well, that would be winter solstice. Right. And so truly that's New Year's Day in our seasonal calendar. I don't think we can argue with the seasons. Humans didn't make them or invent them, but we sure did make a lot of observations, meaning our ancestors, and assign a lot of meaning as well. So that's a really popular way. And I know my astrology teacher, that's where he draws the New Year's chart from. Third option, you could draw a New Year's chart from when the sun transits into sidereal Sag on December 15th. Well, what perspective would that be? From the sun. Well, why is the sun important? That's our luminary. Sun is you, sun is self. And well, why wouldn't we draw it then from the following month? Because then it's after this sort of New Year period, right? So you can draw a chart from December 15th. And what are you doing? Where are these planets placed? Zodiacs and nakshatras. Who owns which nakshatra and who's exchanging and playing with who? That's astrology, is really learning the correspondences, and then you like draw shapes and make connections and who's in whose thing and who's in whose constellation and who governs, who's the signifier, who's the dispositor. Yeah, it's all this fun interconnected interplay. That's astrology. You could draw the chart. So these are our winter New Year's. You could also draw the chart. I guess you could draw it from Sankranti. You could draw from January as well, but most people won't. The next juncture will be the Vedic New Year in the spring, will be the next. Now, that's another concept of, hey, New Year isn't in winter, New Year's in spring. A lot of people are down with New Year in spring. Think Ostara. Think your ancient Celtic, Northern European, that thing called Easter. Yeah, that was New Year's. Fertility. So whose paradigm is that? Oh, that's Ma's paradigm. That's our fertility and expansion. And when you think about the qualities of newness, do you think winter or spring? Right? Life coming. So that's our like fertility model, older model. Like that when it was all pretty much goddess worshiping stuff. So up to 3000 before the Common Era. All that. So I mainly pay attention to the chart that's drawn from the winter solstice. That's just the one that I've become comfortable with, and I can only fill so many things into this head. So that's the point from which we draw the chart. Next up is like, where are the outer planets? Because that's going to point us towards the collective, the slower moving things, the sort of karmic knots and heavier themes. And so really almost the star of this year is Saturn. Saturn is going to transit out of sidereal Aquarius and into sidereal Pisces. So it has been 4+ years, probably almost 5 if we added it all together. Not a little bit less, be like 4, because Saturn's transit is 2.5 years in a sign, but I'm pretty sure we had the full 2.5 by the time I get there. So it's about 5 years, right? Since 2019. And then we all had COVID. Yes. Right after that, that was so much Saturn in Saturn's signs of Capricorn and Aquarius. It's been a thing, y'all, the last 5 years. And so Saturn moving into Pisces. Pisces is ruled by Jupiter, and Saturn's not hating Pisces. Like, and Pisces is going to help Saturn not necessarily lighten up because Saturn doesn't lighten up. Saturn's like that fellow, you know, at the party who's just going to stand in the corner with their arms folded and not interact with others. Like it's just like that. But they came to the party. And so Saturn in Pisces is something different. Let's call it that. And we're going to start this whole new transit there. Very exciting. Now, the spiciness comes into play because the north node of the moon is also transiting Pisces until the end of May. And when these two planets meet, shit is gonna go down. And they're gonna hang out because Saturn moves pretty slowly. They're gonna hang out for 2 months. So circle March 29th on the calendar for a convergence of some wildness. We're going to have a new moon, solar eclipse. Saturn will start the new transit and conjunct with Rahu, North Node of the Moon. So what's Rahu? Passion, desire, kind of out of control, passion and desire. Now, Saturn's a pretty stern planet. And so, like, Saturn's not all of a sudden going to be wiling out. Saturn doesn't do wiling out. But wherever this is sitting in your chart, that place is going to get activated. And me, I kind of like Rahu energy, but I'm an extremely passionate person. Like my thing is mainly tamping it down, you know? And so you might feel a surge of like actionable, passionate energy. It's really just about using that Saturnian level-headedness, make a plan, make a long-term plan on whatever is this passionate thing that you want to like develop. Again, we're back to these houses and the themes of the houses where this is going to rest, those nakshatras, some of the fine-tuned timings, like this. So that's going to be a wildly big deal. Saturn Rahu conjunction for some people might be destabilizing. It's going to depend on where that shows up, but just know that those 2 months, we're going to have ourselves a lively spring. There's a couple other conjunctions that are happening, like April 1 to 3. I think that has to do with Venus. Oh, right, because Venus is also in the mix in this melee in Pisces. So, yeah, but we'll probably talk about some particulars then. But just kind of circle that time. That's going to be a really exciting time. And know that it's really about entering volatile times with both eyes open, prepared, and calm, really observant of the surroundings. And what you may find is some of the best surf ever. Right? You could also totally get tumbled around in the waves and stuck in the wash, right? So I say observant, calm, so we can have some good surf. And maybe just one or two tumbles in the wash, like just maybe one. So Saturn moving is going to be a pretty significant thing like this. Mars is the other kind of big deal because we're having a really extended time of Mars in Gemini and also in Cancer. So these kind of planets of activity and stirring, that's who we want to be on the lookout for 2025. Venus in Pisces is a beautiful placement. So there's also like really positive things going on. Last thing I'll say about 2025 predictions is there's a lot of indicators for seismic activity, volcanoes, floods, climate type things. And we're at such a precarious moment with that because, look, seismic activities and volcanoes and floods and tidal waves and all sorts of things have happened throughout history. All of these events are exacerbated right now because of how humans have built with stupid materials, right on coastlines, in like drained floodplains. Well, guess what? Like that's where water's gonna go when it's in excess. Like this, we've built, you know, our population has expanded, so we live in and around volcanoes on earthquake fault lines. So natural disasters are exacerbated at this time because of how we have treated the earth, how we have built, and how we have generated extreme weather patterns. Now, I'll save one little slice for the conspiracy theories around controlling of the weather, influencing the weather. And I'm not going to cross it off. I'm just going to put it in like a tiny bracket over there. I don't think that's the primary, but some people do. We'll just kind of let that float around. Let that. Do I think that technology is real? 100%. It's all published. It's real like that. Do I think we know how much it's being used? I do not think we know how much is being used. So that makes it speculative. The other thing that is unfortunately part of that volatile, Marsh and Rahu and some of these conjunct energies is war, like this. War and conflict, and apparently genocide, humans at their absolute worst is also still indicated. So we're not coming into peaceful times. But you know what? We're also due for some innovation. We're due for some next technology. Um, and this moon, coming back to this moon, part of the message of this moon is hopefulness, right? That like we can't lose hope in the face of all the scary things. And our daily practice needs to include something that helps us connect to hope, to our senses of hope, what hopefulness feels like and resonates in the body. It's challenging to keep decolonization forward, to stay in discomfort, to look at and challenge systems of harm and oppression. It can also get really tiring because how on earth is this going to shift? Well, here's the fun. Things are shifting. We're not going to see it in the very macro for a while. What's a while? I don't know, to be honest with you. I feel like by 2028, we're gonna know like what the heck is going on. But I do forecast a good handful of years here, 25, 26, 27, 3, 4 years of maybe we're not gonna know. It's not gonna be clear. And what's so important is that we are engaged in the cultivation, the encouragement of new systems, of new ways. So where's our landscape for adding to that? What can we be doing? First and foremost, you could be taking impeccable care of this body. You could treat this body as the gift that it is. And every day, 24 hours, if in fact that is our clock, the whole thing can be about the absolute bestest care of your body instrument, your body temple, your body vessel. You could craft your lifestyle around your well-being, eating the best food possible, touching the ingredients, breathing as you prepare, actually chewing and enjoying the food. And what does digestion look like? Are you enjoying a warm digestive tea? Are you having a light constitutional walk after? No, really, like, how could you treat this body like the absolute gift that it is? That's number one. I think number two is our cultivation of meditation for an ability to see ourselves, and meditation for an ability to hang out in liminal spaces. Hanging out in liminal spaces is going to help us, one, resource and draw things from subconscious storage into consciousness for healing and renewal, like this. So, moving beyond the paradigm of unconscious ignorance stuffing everything inside and then relying on the body's storage capabilities to keep you functioning. We have got to come into energetic harmonization. I mean that in the sense of like the battery, how you store memories, good ones, bad ones, and indifferent ones, that whole mechanism, how healing works in the body. Like, it's time for us to come into real simplicity, understanding how healing works in the body, how this storage capacity thing happens, how we can be pulling things from this, encouraging that, what this resourcing concept is, and how we can keep resourcing. That's also what I'm getting at in just framing it up as like the most impeccable body mind being care possible, this honoring of the instrument to the point of, to the level of worship, right? And the other aspect of liminal is dreaming. And that is what we are supposed to be doing right now in this season of winter, in the season of where we are in these sort of structural changes like this. It's such a simple message. It's almost like too simple, but it's the message nonetheless. It is the message of this new moon, and it is the message of the time that we're in right now. And if you would like to be a part of continuing to resource the opportunity for us to create change and restoration, truth and reconciliation processes, for us to work towards justice, these are the instructions of the moment. We are to be attending to rest, renewal, and healing, dreaming and visioning, learning how healing works, reclaiming basically what we're doing is reclaiming our birthrights, reclaiming our shared indigeneity through the practice of rematriation, and connecting heart minds back together, connecting womb spaces back together, and literally informing the possibility of a collective liberation. At the same time, on the like both eyes open, and we need to stay informed. We do need to know to the best of our ability the larger themes and what's happening. And we must work towards a capacity for decolonization of our identities, because that's what the social construct of difference relies on. It relies on you being exploitable and pitting your multitude of identities against each other internally as well as externally in society. It's not a new message, but it's a succinct one. Those are the instructions. That's what we're doing. Let's tune into this moon specifically and see what other gems we can distill from Purvashada. And I'm trying to remember something was here in Purva Ashada right at the winter solstice. So when we drew the chart, this nakshatra is like sun or somebody was already, that can't be sun. Somebody was maybe Venus or something. So Purva Ashada. It's in Sag, which is ruled by Jupiter, and in a little section that's ruled by Venus, which is exciting. And its deity, its presiding deity is Appas. And Appas is the water goddess. Oh, so we're in like dreamy waters. Think renewal. So if there were new moon rituals that you could come up with at this time, include water. And maybe that's you ritualizing your shower. Seriously, it doesn't have to be like a whole big thing. It's just these moments of connection. Yeah. Okay. The basic characteristic of Purva Ashada is the general spiritual environment in which the soul dwells. Like an elephant, unconcerned with the surrounding commotion and activity, the soul is attuned to the harmonious interrelationship of all things in creation. On a superficial level, inertia prevails, but under appropriate conditions, the elephant can be aroused to courageous deeds. The tusk is more valuable than any other part of the elephant's body. It's a sort of externalization of the inner possibilities of the animal. When the tusk is severed, it has the power to grow back again. Under Purva Ashada, the star, many unknown and unsuspected possibilities of the person come to light. Under its impulse, the individual may receive flashes of intuition and valuable insight into the working of divine law. One gets much wisdom under it. So I'm reading from Bipin Bihari's Myths and Symbols of Vedic Astrology. The quality of wisdom that grows under the influence of Purva Ashada is of great practical importance. Like water, it sustains life as well as cleanses its impurities. The Vedic sages worship the water goddess as one who destroys all poisons, wards off all jealousy and disease, and bestows eternal creative energy. These are the vitalizing impulses flowing through this asterism. The sun and moon provide the polarized energy impulses, which in turn protect water to support and nourish every kind of manifestation. What Purva Shada produces for an individual goes a long way in sustaining, nourishing, and making them creative. Much sensitivity is developed at this stage. Great significance is attached to water and water deities in every religion. Facts. The great Vedantic philosopher Shankara equates water with sattva itself, so the harmonious qualities, the spiritual quality in life. He mentions sattva as water, which in conjunction with rajas, activity, and tamas, inertia, creates the conditions responsible for the rebirth of the soul. According to him, reality of the self, the Atman, is reflected in sattva, like the sun in water. Purva Ashada, by cleansing the impurities of ignorance collected during previous incarnations, opens out the soul to the universalization of consciousness and thereby to universal sympathy. The energy of water asattva is a reflection of divine unity. Its activation brings forth the inmost and divine quality latent in human, symbolized by the elephant tusk. Interesting. So this is also connecting a little bit to what I'm describing of this. This is the season, like today, is how the energy starts towards that hopefulness, that connection to the divine unity, that godly goddessness. Yeah, that's this moon. That's this time. When the individual becomes aware of their inherent qualities, the uniqueness in which they're born, there's often a sense of pride. Such a psychological weakness arises if the unity between the individual and the universe life force is overlooked. This situation may arise due to the influence of Venus. Venus does care about Venus. With the change in the basic nature of human, they become more spiritual and much power begins to flow through them. Their creativity is augmented to a great extent. Venus gives sensitivity and an inclination towards personal pleasures. This influence accentuates the ego of the individual. They begin to think that the creativity resulting from divine energy is theirs and does not come from another source. This ignorance veils the supreme force energizing them. The psychological transformation possible at this stage is indicated by the forces of Sagittarius as beauty, harmony, and noble aspiration. Persons born under Purvashada, okay, I'm going to skip that. If you happen to be born under Purvashada, how interesting. The nature of purification. Oh, but this is important. Yeah, there's just this really beautiful energy here of finding the route that social service it can bring the most happiness and harmony in life. Yes, okay. The nature of purification and transformation under this asterism is indicated by the planets ruling its quarters. The first quarter is ruled by the sun, under whose impact the individual begins to experience the omnipresence and omnipotence of the universal life. This experience draws one nearer to the center, as a result of which psychological transformation begins to take place. The second quarter is ruled by Mercury, whose main function is to energize the mentation process. Under the overall radiation of spirituality resulting from Sagittarius and the primary flow of sattvic attribute, Mercury enables one to perceive unity and diversity. Such an understanding of the universality of nature around oneself makes an individual yet more spiritually oriented. Are you catching the vibe? This is a super spiritual place in the zodiac. The Venusian energy, that's where we're hanging out in this moon, of the third quarter is related to the sign Libra, thereby implying I don't know what that word is. The satiety of material affluence and the growth of spirituality. Oh yeah, satiety? Satiety. That's a word. That's a good word. Of material affluence and the growth of spirituality. At this stage, the individual is not argumentative, yay. They intuitively perceive the universal spirit prevailing everywhere. Yes. As the asterism is itself ruled by Venus, this feeling is very pronounced. The inborn attraction of the soul towards the religious life is accentuated under Purvashada. In the fourth quarter, under Mars, a mild form of fanaticism may be noticed. Whatever the quarter, the psychological change is pronounced. This directs the individual towards universalization of their spirit. In such activities, there is much of sacrament, the outer expression of religious activity, and a strong urge for dedication to the Supreme. Devotion to a personal form of the divine is more attractive at this stage than philosophy of one universal being existing and manifesting everywhere. So don't be surprised if you're called towards devotional practice at this time. The classification of this asterism by sex, class, species, and animal type show that its impulse is active in inducing the soul to take initiative in changing its nature. The species that being that of the monkey, there can be much experimentation. Such a person finds it difficult to adhere to any one way of life. They may change the deities they worship quickly or frequently. Okay, this is about people who are born under this asterism. Wrapping this up, Purvashada induces the divinity of the person to externalize to aid in the purification of the ego. Wrong actions from past incarnations produce trying situations. Yeah, this is still about individuals born under this asterism. Okay. Okay, I'm pausing here. Thanks for my mildly organized this thing. So we're in deep spiritual places with deep spiritual things. It is the new moon of the new year. It's a beautiful moon for the new year. Faith, hope, love, and charity, connection to the divine, the spiritual journey. There's so much available to you in the dark of winter, in the rest and renewal. Use water, sprinkle water, charge water, put some crystals in water, dab water, take baths, take dips, take immersions, feel like water in the body, connect with water of life. These will all be beautiful things at the junction of this moon. 2025, we will continue to learn and grow as humans. Also seems we like to be stubborn and make it way harder than it needs to be. Um, just know that your actions are not in vain. um, your rest, your renewal, your healing, your cultivation of your intuition. This literally is the work to be done. So you're going to see me in 2025 focused on these missions, everything that I named: decolonization, rematriation, how healing works, getting us, inspiring foundation learning, us being on our healing journeys, supporting you in whatever capacity I can do that. This is one space. We have this digital garden, we have these courses, there's one-to-one work, there's, however I can be of help. That's my service. And services is my whole thing. That's pretty much just my drive. Um, and I know that the methods that I'm sharing, I use them for myself and they are working. Like, I am experiencing some of the best health that I have had in 12 years. And yes to that. And spiritual practices growing. I don't have answers to a lot of things, to be honest with you. Having come out of traditional guru system, and we're coming into really the next thing, but I'm willing to fumble around at it with you all, and figure out like how we do this self-guru model and how we manage these inspired upload, download empowerments, and how we dismantle and how we heal. Um, and I know that we're stronger doing that together. So super excited for the now and the future, and in deep gratitude for health and all the material blessings, and just wishing that for everyone at this time. And really my prayer is for, for those folks that are deep in suffering, whether that's the suffering of displacement or the suffering of not having the resources that are needed, that should be available to all, whether that's the mental suffering of feeling disconnected from true purpose for being, for the those that are suffering due to their ignorance, the immense suffering that greed influences. Um, I send my prayers for all the suffering beings, that they may find resources that they need for also renewal and health and well-being and transformation, and that we can right the ship here. Like we don't have to completely fly off the rails. And so I am personally deeply tapping into this hopeful service and charity and spirituality vibe at this new moon. And I want to infuse my whole 2025 with that energy, and get out here and train hard and work reasonably hard. I do like hard work. And I'm going to pause my part here. And I'll be really excited to hear from each of you. The invitation is, so what are you doing? Like, what's intuitively coming to you at a New Year juncture? I'm deadly curious.